Okay. Is Sandra Trice still at the hospital?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. I'll take Lewis Miller. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Lewis Anthony Miller, file number 22-01846 SM. Council appearance, please.
Attorney Luke Goodrich from the Public Defender's Office here to represent Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Today's the date set for arraignment, and I have a misdemeanor complaint. It alleges that on or about July 12, 2022, at the area of 831 Vincent Court, which is located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law and count one, commit the act of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault and battery upon a Lauren McKay, a resident or former resident of your household, and or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that you did this contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, plead not guilty, or stand mute. You have the right to be represented by counsel. You're represented by the Office of the Public Defender for the purposes of your arraignment only. But you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, or if you're considered indigent, you can be appointed counsel at the expense of the public. Do you understand that right, sir? Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Miller, you have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to prove your guilt. You have the right to question or cross-examine any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the charge. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons, on July 26, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Did you get a copy of the notice to appear, sir?
Yes.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, how would he like to plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. What's your current home address, sir?
It would be 1217 Pompton Circle.
Can you repeat that?
1217 Pompton Circle.
Okay, is that in Lansing?
Yes.
What's your zip code?
48910.
What's your phone number?
517-303-1147.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
And where are you employed?
Turning leaf.
I don't know. Can you spell your street address, please?
POMPTON.
1217. Okay. Do you want to address bond, Mr. Goodrich?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Miller informed me that he doesn't have any criminal history. He will be moving back home with his parents on Pompton Circle there, so he's got a stable address to go to away from the alleged victim here. He's lived in Lansing his whole life. He has this full-time job at Turning Leaf, so we're asking for a PR bond in this matter, Your Honor.
I'll grant the request for personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set at $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you have the following conditions. You need to make sure you report to court for all of your future court dates. You need to report on time. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Ms. Lauren McKay lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to assault, harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, or threaten Ms. Lauren McKay. You're not to enter the property of 831 Vincent Court in Lansing, Michigan. Do you have any questions about those conditions so far?
No.
You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside of the state without prior approval of the court. Again, you're not to contact the victim directly or indirectly. Do you understand what indirectly means?
Yes.
Okay, you're not to cause anyone else to contact the victim on your behalf. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about your bond condition, sir?
No.
Any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Counsel?
Thank you.
Okay, sir, we'll see you at your next court date. Jeremy Deanda. Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jeremy Deanda, file number 22-01366 SM, council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Jacob Rowley appearing on behalf of Jeremy Deanda for the purpose of his arraignment.
Mr. Deanda, today's the date set for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint here. It alleges that on or about March 25th, 2022, at the area of 1010 North Pine Street, Unit A, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of domestic violence. It's alleging that you made an assault or an assault and battery upon a Selena Terry, who's an individual with whom you had a child in common and or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty there, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to be represented by counsel during each stage of the criminal prosecution. For the purposes of your arraignment today, you have representation from the Office of the Public Defender. However, if you qualify economically, you can have court-appointed counsel represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, he is.
Okay, Mr. Deanda, you have the right to plead guilty, you have the right to plead not guilty, and you have the right to stand mute. You have the right to proceed to trial in this matter. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used to prove or implicate your guilt. You have the right to question or cross-examine any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the charge. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand those rights, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, not guilty, Your Honor.
Okay, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You're currently scheduled for a pretrial before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's going to be July 26, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I do see a blue sheet in your hand. That will be the Zoom instructions. Your hearing will be held via Zoom for your pretrial. Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
I work for Coca-Cola, and I also work for the Best Western.
What's your home address?
1150 Billings Court, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And your phone number?
616-286-8762.
You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would note that Mr. Deanna, as he stated, he is employed full-time. He does live in Grand Rapids. I would note that he is currently under parole supervision, so I think that gives him sort of an additional incentive to comply with any court orders and to appear in court as ordered. Mr. Deanna tells me that he has no recent contact with the alleged victim and has no reason to have contact with the alleged victim in the future. So I don't think there will be any issues with that, with regard to that. And for those reasons, I would request a personal recognizance bond.
Right, he's on parole with the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll grant the request for a personal recognizance bond. Incident allegedly occurred several months back. I don't have any indication that there would be an immediate threat to the victim. There will be a no contact order in place. You're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with the victim Selena Terry. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be in within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to make sure you appear to court for all of your future court dates. You need to appear on time. As I indicated before, your pretrial is via Zoom. However, if this proceeds to a final pretrial or jury trial, that's going to be in person here at the court. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
While on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about those requirements at this time?
No, ma'am.
Bond will be set at $500 personal recognizance. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
Ashley Overton. For the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus Ashley Lena Elizabeth Overton, file number 22-01845 SM. Counsel appearance, please.
Attorney Luke Goodrich from the Public Defender's Office, here to represent Ms. Overton.
Ms. Overton, today's date set for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about July 13th, 2022, at the area of 11200 Mary Avenue, apartment 102, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, you did allegedly in count one commit the act of a domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon Jeremy Henley, an individual with whom you have a child in common, and or an individual with whom you were in a dating relationship, contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor with the maximum penalty being 93 days and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Ms. Overton, do you understand the charge and the penalty associated with the charge?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by counsel. You're represented by Mr. Goodrich from the Office of the Public Defender for the purposes of your arraignment today only. You have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you're unable to afford an attorney and you economically qualify, you can be appointed, court-appointed counsel at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
She has, Your Honor.
So Overton, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, or you can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to trial in this matter. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used to implicate or prove your guilt. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you They have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to question or cross-examine any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense. Do you understand those rights, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For the purposes of arraignment, is she pleading not guilty?
Yes, she is, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You're currently scheduled for a pretrial before Judge Stacia Buchanan. It's going to be Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 10:30 in the morning. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it should have also had some Zoom instructions because your pretrial will be via Zoom. You're also welcome to appear in person if that's what you want to do. Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
Philip Dean Apartments.
Repeat that for me.
Philip Dean Apartments,
What do you do there?
the property manager.
What's your home address?
5816 Orchard Court, Lansing, Michigan, 48910.
And your phone number?
517-377-5609.
You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, while Ms. Overton is currently on bond on another misdemeanor matter, she does not have an extensive criminal history. She informed me that she had a DUI from a handful of years ago. She's lived in this area her whole life. Obviously, she has a pretty good job working as a property manager for the apartment complex. She has always shown up for court proceedings in the past. So we would ask the court to give her a PR bond on this matter, or at least a low 10% bond.
You said she's on bond in another matter?
Yes, in front of Judge Buchanan. It's a misdemeanor case. That's.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just double checking because a criminal history report indicated there was more than that, but that one of them was nollied. I just wanted to make sure. Nonetheless, I don't believe there to be an immediate threat to the safety of the public or a flight risk, so I'll grant the request for a personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set at $500 personal recognizance. Need to make sure you appear to court for all of your future court dates, okay, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, while out on bond, you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with the victim, Jeremy Henley, okay?
Okay,
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever he lives, works, or goes to school. Is that a problem?
no,
Okay. Also, while on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess any drugs or alcohol. You're not to have any prescription drugs unless you have a valid prescription for them. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to use or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
no, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, you're all set for today, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sharonda Ali.
Give you the chair, Ms. Harvey. Hey, just come up, I got you.
Yes.
Okay, are you Sharonda Ali?
Yes.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Sharonda Elmira Ali. File number is 18-02467 SM. Council appearance, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Jacob Raleigh appearing on behalf of Sharonda Ali for the purpose of her arraignment.
Thank you, Ms. Ali. Today's the date that's scheduled for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint, and it alleges that you allegedly, contrary to law, committed the act in count one of controlled substance on or about July 14, 2017 at 915 East Michigan Avenue, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan. The allegation is that you obtain controlled substances or drugs by false prescription, and that you did knowingly obtain, attempt to obtain, or possess the drug tramadol by means of a prescription for other than a legitimate therapeutic purpose, or as a result of a false, forged, or altered prescription. This is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.17766E. That's a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty is 90 days in jail and or $500 in fines. You understand the charge and the maximum penalty associated, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel, and you are represented by Mr. Raleigh today for your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney with you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have court-appointed counsel represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right, ma'am?
Yes.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, she is requesting court-appointed counsel.
Ms. Ali, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead not guilty. You have the right to plead guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to trial in this matter. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to question any witness that the prosecution calls. You have the right to call your own witness or present evidence at trial that you believe would further defense to the charge. Do you understand that?
Yes.
For the purposes of her arraignment, how would you like to plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Thank you. The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You're currently scheduled for a pretrial before Judge Stacia Buchanan on Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can appear via Zoom, okay?
Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, I'm going to remind you again of your right to remain silent so that you're
No,
careful,
I heard what
that
you
you
said.
understand.
I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make, I just want to say something to you. I don't have no transportation to get to my appointment. My daughter, she worked from 11 to 1.
You need to get to your court date.
Yes, I
You
stay
can
well
appear
out there back.
via Zoom.
I stay out there by Waverly Court, over there on Waverly in Giles.
Okay. Do you have a way to appear via Zoom electronically?
I don't understand that. Could you explain it further detail?
Yeah. So for example, right now we're on Zoom. You're currently in the jail, but they have logged in virtually so that I can see you on the screen from my courtroom. So if you have a device, it could be a cell phone, it could be an iPad or a tablet, it could be a computer. Or if your daughter or someone else has a device, you can log in from the device. We have a blue sheet that should have been given to you. Well, actually, this is for Judge Buchanan. So there should have been a sheet for Judge Buchanan given to you with her instructions as to how you would log in for Zoom so that you don't have to appear in person. You can appear virtually from your home or wherever you're going to be.
Well, I'm going to
Okay.
get I'm not computer. I don't know how to do it.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to get someone to help you, okay?
Yes,
And then if you have a public defender, they commonly would call, you can call them and they can walk you through it as well, okay?
okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, appreciate it. Appreciate y'all.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, I appreciate you sending.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Are you currently employed?
I don't know, don't work.
Okay. Do you receive disability, ma'am?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Anna, I do.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's your home address?
4434 Seaway Drive. That's in Michigan, 48911.
Do you have a phone number?
My phone number is 517-703-4311.
Okay.
517-703-4341.
4341?
Or if not, I have an emergency contact with Pierre Carter. My kid's dad's number is 517-894-39-2023.
Okay. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would note that Miss Ali does live locally in Lansing, has lived there for years. She has family who help her out. I also would like to note that this alleged offense occurred 5 years ago. I don't believe that Miss Ali is a danger to the public. I certainly don't think she's a flight risk. And for those reasons, I would request a personal recognizance bond.
Thank you. Your request for personal recognizance bond will be granted. Bond will be issued in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. While on bond, Ms. Ali, you need to make sure you're at all of your court dates, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You are not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You need to make sure you're not involved in any assaultive behavior while out on bond. You're not to use any alcohol or any drugs that you do not have a valid prescription for. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do understand you.
you're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions at this time?
No, Your Honor, I just want to take my medication, that's all. I am anemia, I get cold fast, and I have a nervous condition.
Okay, well, we're gonna get you out on a personal recognizance bond. I believe there was someone here earlier that was seeking to pick you up. They may be watching virtually, so they can come in and get you out of the custody, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
And nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, you're all set for today, Miss Ali.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I want you to call.
Okay, Richard Wood. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Richard Allen Wood, file number 22-00333. SM, counsel appearance, please.
Attorney Luke Goodrich from the Public Defender's Office here to assist Mr. Wood with his arraignment this afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Wood. Today's the date scheduled for an arraignment. I have before me a citation or ticket. It alleges that on January 31st, 2022, at approximately 12:06 p.m. in the area of 5724 Richwood in Lansing, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, possess an unlicensed dog, that being a pit by the name of Lady, I believe is the handwriting on the citation. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Looks like you were supposed to be here for an arraignment after receiving this citation originally in February. The arraignment was set for March, and then it was reset again for a date in March, and he did not appear. I don't know if you knew that this was set for an arraignment previously. Did you know that?
Oh, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, well, you're here today. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to be represented by counsel. And you're represented by Mr. Goodrich today for the purposes of your arraignment, but you have the right to have an attorney with you throughout each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have court-appointed counsel represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel, Mr. Goodrich?
Your Honor, we didn't have the chance to speak with him this morning, so I would just ask him on the record. Mr. Wood, would you like to request a court-appointed attorney?
Please.
Okay, and then, Your Honor, I would just ask that at the conclusion of the arraignment, if we could be just put in a breakout room to get some information from him.
Absolutely, and I'll note here that he is requesting court-appointed counsel. I also note here that for the purposes of his arraignment, he's entering a plea of not guilty. Okay, Mr. Wood, you have the right to proceed to trial in this matter. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used to implicate or prove your guilt. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge against you. They have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to cross-examine or question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the charge. Do you have any questions about those rights, sir?
No, ma'am.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial before Judge Stacia Buchanan on Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 10:30 in the morning. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear before Judge Stacia Buchanan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you can appear via Zoom, so you should have Zoom instructions with you as well, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your current address, sir?
My address is still here at 5233 Tolles Road, Mason, Michigan, 488 54.
What's your phone number?
517-977-5423.
A bond will be set at $100 personal recognizance. You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates, okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, I would just like to speak with him in a breakout room at this point.
No problem. We're off the record. Mr. Wood, I'm gonna put you in a private meeting room with Mr. Goodrich so you can complete an intake, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Your Honor, while they're in the breakout room, would you like me to start heading to the hospital?
I have a hearing right now, and then I'm on call. I've got 3 search warrants I need to do. So it's probably gonna be at least an hour.
Okay, that works. Just have your court officer call the court office and we'll head over to her.
Thank you. Mr. Goodrich. City Jail. And room 1. Okay. Is everybody here for Autumn Ridge versus Stephanie Penn?
Your Honor, Michael Geller on behalf of Autumn Ridge.
On the record in the matter, the Autumn Ridge Townhomes versus Stephanie Penn. The file number is 20-02613LT. Can I have your appearance, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, Michael Geller on behalf of Autumn Ridge.
Your Honor, Adam Kazor here on behalf of Stephanie Penn.
Thank you. Today was the date that was set for show cause. We were here back on the 23rd of June. At which time there seemed to be some disagreement as to what matters had been addressed and what had not been addressed. I think the plaintiff seemed to believe that everything except the roof had been addressed and that there was already a date set for the roof to be repaired, which is why we ended up with this for today's date. However, Ms. Penn disagreed that there were some other, or that other issues had not been addressed. So I do have here, it just says Exhibit 1, but I'm going to assume, Mr. Geller, that you permitted or submitted these. And there, it looks like pictures of the roof being replaced or restored.
Correct, Your Honor. There was 2 exhibits. Exhibit 1 was a work order that had our maintenance supervisors writing on it from his visit with what he had observed and what they had done. And then Exhibit 2 is pictures of the roof that the repair was completed.
Okay. You're going to have to give me some help on some of this handwriting, but the Exhibit 1, which is the work order, says the call date was on June 24. It said that there was no leak in the dishwasher, and that was as of the 24th.
Yeah, actually, Your Honor, that June 24th date is, I think, the date that this all initially started. The date that we were out there is down at the bottom where it says JM, and there's a 6/21/22 date. That was the date he was out and went through all the items that were on the list in the court order. Some of these items listed on this work order are not on the court order, but are things that we looked at as well anyway.
Okay, I do see where there's a handwritten for JM 6/21/22. However, there's several printed dates on this document. I'm inclined to believe some of these are auto-generated, so I'm probably going to go with that. One of them is June 20th, 2022 at 3:18 p.m. That's at the very bottom. However, the call date on here still says June 24th, 2021 at 3:14 p.m.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this June 21st date is, but that's handwritten. So I'm not inclined to follow that as the date that anything occurred.
Well, Your Honor, I have Mr. Moody, who is the individual here who can testify as to that. As you may recall, pardon me?
I recognize that, but I do know that we were here on the 23rd of
Correct.
June. And
Correct.
then they were supposed to go back out to the property after the fact. But nonetheless, the date, whether it was the 20th or the 21st, is really not germane to the issue. The issue is whether or not the issues were addressed. And I want to know as to problem description, leaking dishwater, was there a leak on the date that they went to service the property?
There was not, Your Honor. They ran that dishwasher through a full cycle 3 times and did not observe any leak. They took off the bottom panel of it and did not observe any leak while it was running. So it's not anything that could be replicated. So, we don't know what defendant might be doing to make it leak, but when we were there and ran our tests and did what we needed to do to check it, it did not leak.
Okay, thank you. And then as to the kitchen tile falling off black splash, there's a note that says it's good. What does
Right.
that mean?
Well, Your Honor, I believe the actual issue is not a backsplash, but a toe kick underneath the cabinets. And the toe kick is fine. It might, it might be a little discolored, but it's fine and it works and it's operable. There's nothing wrong with the backsplash or tile around a backsplash. Again, I think what was being referred to was really a toe kick under the cabinets. And I think that's what, when we were here on the 23rd, what I think Ms. Penn was showing the court with her phone on video was actually a toe kick and not a backsplash on a counter.
Okay. Okay, and then as to item listed as D, clogged drainage in bathroom tub and sink, it says change diverter stem.
Yeah, yes, that was not an item that was on the court's order to be repaired. But that was an additional item that Ms. Penn asked them to look at while they were there. They snaked the drain and noticed that there was a loose diverter stem, and they replaced that. And I believe that's all corrected. But again, that was not an item that was on either the December 2nd, 2021 conditional dismissal or this court's May 23rd, 2022 order.
Okay. Item E, vermin in walls of the apartment. It says that was due to or because of the roof damage.
Right. My client, when they were there, did not observe or hear any vermin in the wall or see any signs of it. They could only suspect that might, if there was anything, it might have been due to the roof that needed to be repaired, which has now been repaired. They did go all around the outside of the building, and any possible points of egress had been sealed. So there was no obvious points of entry for anything. So our position is we just can't verify it, and it's not been verified. And we believe if there was anything that would have been addressed with the roof repair, which has been completed.
Okay. Black sludge coming up through basement drain.
Yeah, Your Honor,
It says lint in drain.
Correct, Your Honor. What my client observed is that there was nothing coming up from the drain. What was really happening was there was condensation from the air conditioning that was going into the basement. And what was happening is lint from the dryer was getting attracted to that condensation, and that's what was there. They scraped that all the way and cleaned it around the floor. We haven't had any issue with it since. We didn't see any sludge or anything. I did see some pictures that plaintiff submitted, and what that looks like is there might be a little bit of rust on the drain cap, and there may be a little area of the basement floor that might not be painted underneath the drainage tube, but there was no black sludge that we were able to see or find, other than that lint that had gathered there with water that they took away and scraped away.
Okay. And then there is a broken and unsecure front door.
Yeah, again, Your Honor, that's an item that was not on the court's order, but that was something that they did adjust the door, and I think they changed the strike plate and fixed that as far as I'm aware. But again, that was not an issue that was on either the conditional dismissal or this court's order in May.
Okay, corroded water heater incapable of keeping the water hot.
Yeah, Your Honor, my client does acknowledge there is some minor corrosion on the water line on the top of the water heater. However, the water heater operates fine and operates as it needs to. It produces hot water. When they were checking in the dishwasher for leaks, the water was hot in the dishwasher. When they were changing that diverter stem in the bathroom, again, the water was hot in the bathroom. So there's nothing on the water heater that needs to be repaired. It's common for water heaters. They're water and metal, they get minor corrosion on inlet piping. It's not an uncommon situation, but it doesn't affect how that water heater works. And we believe that that's addressed as well.
Okay, and significant water damage in kitchen.
Yeah, again, that's an item that was not on the court's orders. We did not observe any water damage when we were there. If any there, like I say, there might be some discoloration in that toe kick. And if that toe kick needs to be replaced, we can replace that, but it's operational for what it needs to do and its purpose. But we did not see any water damage on the floor or otherwise. And they did even check the sink for leakage as well and did not see any leaking in the sink or any of the plumbing to the sink. So they did go and review all of that.
Okay, there is, it says mold-like black substance covering basement wall.
Yeah, and again, that was not observed. What my client did observe, they did not see any evidence of mold and mildew. What they saw was that there might have been some spots where someone had previously sprayed maybe some Kills or something else on the wall, and it's not the same color paint as is next to it. But there was no evidence of any mold or mildew that they observed. And you know, I know our defendant has requested them to get a mold specialist out. You know, from their experience and opinion, they did not see anything that would warrant that. It's just a different discoloration in the paint in the basement in those small areas.
Basement thermostat heater vent blows heat upstairs from basement.
Yep, so that was addressed by closing the vent in the basement. As far as we know, that's taking care of that. The furnace operates fine. Those vents are to provide heat and air to the basement as well, and that was closed off to address whatever issue the defendant was having with that. So we believe that's been addressed as well, or at least attempted to address.
Okay, give me. Okay, back on the record. It says, despite keeping the thermostat set at 80 degrees, the unit falls to heat above 60 degrees.
Yeah, again, my client did not observe that. They were there in June. The air conditioning was on. The temperature in the apartment matched what the thermostat said with the air conditioning on. It is possible if there was an issue with the upstairs being cool, that might be addressed now with that vent having been closed off in the basement. But while they were there was nothing that would have shown that the furnace isn't operating properly. They did inspect the furnace while they were there as well. Took off the faceplate and looked at everything there and did not see anything present in the furnace that would prevent it from properly heating.
Okay, Mr. Kozor, did you want to respond to any dispute as to whether or not these things were properly addressed?
Yeah, Your Honor, if I could just address one last item, because the last item was the roofing leak, the roof leaking. The roof's been repaired. The only thing that is left to do that's as a result of that leaking roof is to fix the drywall inside now that the roof has been repaired. And I believe they are looking at doing that early next week.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, just to clarify one thing that was said, on the work order form that was being discussed, somewhere near the middle, it says would like mold specialist for basement walls.
Yeah, Your Honor, if I can address that, that was what the defendant requested of our client when they were there on June 21st. So they wrote that on the work order that the defendant would like a mold specialist. But again, from what they observed on the walls, they didn't see anything that would justify that at this point.
Okay, Mr. Coulter, did you submit a picture of the mold that you're referencing?
Of the basement wall, Your Honor?
Correct.
No, Your Honor, that wall was subsequently painted white. So whatever was
Well,
there.
if mold was there and white paint doesn't stop it from coming through.
It's my understanding the paint was applied recently. So the pictures that I have for Miss Penn are mostly just white walls.
Okay, is that the picture that's been attached in your exhibit list?
No, Your Honor, I did not attach any of the pictures of the walls. The pictures of the white are of the ceiling in the living room where the water
Okay.
was dripping.
Has there been any pictures taken previous to them painting of these white or the mold? Because I mean, you all were making the allegations prior to this that there was mold. So did your client give you pictures prior to that of the mold?
Your Honor, I did not see them in the pictures that I received. But Miss Penn, she may have more pictures. I know she's been documenting this for a substantial amount of time.
What are your other disputes as to what they say they've addressed?
Yes, Your Honor, in terms of the dishwasher, Exhibit A, these are still shots from a video that Miss Penn took of the dishwasher as she was running it. The pictures show water basically from the dishwasher all the way across the kitchen to the oven. And this
Do you
was
have a video?
Yes, Your Honor, she did send a video.
Okay, I want to see the video then.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me pull it up. Okay, how would Your Honor like me to share that with the court?
You can share screen, just we'll start the audio. There's a little button when you share screen that you'll have to click share audio and then it should be able to play.
I'm not seeing an option to share video.
You're looking for share screen, not share video. And then when you share screen, because I'm assuming you have the video open on your screen now.
Yes, Your Honor.
So on Zoom, there should be a share screen in the middle of your screen.
Oh, okay. I have it here.
You click that and then there in the left corner, it says share sound. You have to click that so I can hear what the video is saying.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you'll press share and you'll click whatever the video, you should see the video populating as one of your options. You'll click that and then press share.
Okay, is that visible now, Your Honor?
Yes, I can see it.
Here's the video. It's on. It's the sixth time I've ran it. Here it is, water all the way over here, down by that hole I was talking about, all the way over to my stove. There's the video there, and I hope that helps because it doesn't let me do a lot of recording to submit. Here's the video.
Okay. What date was that video taken?
Ms. Penn, could you clarify? I'm sorry, it's in the email that was sent, and I have the video application.
You're muted, ma'am.
That video was taken after the last time we all was in court, when I was told to go back and video the issues that I was talking about and or additional pictures.
It was taken after June 23rd.
It was the last time we was in court. And I had a longer video. It was like 4 minutes, but I could not load it up to my attorney, and I had to keep cropping it down like 30 seconds. I said, my evidence is gone because you can't get the original 4-minute video. So I had to keep cropping it to be able to.
I get it. We don't want to watch 4 minutes of the dishwasher though. Was there other things in there in the video?
No, I was trying to do video at a time of each particular issue. And then what I couldn't upload, I ended up having to take pictures. Okay,
that video, the amount of time for that was sufficient enough. The 4 minutes would have been too long for that. I recognize too that it said it was taken on the 23rd, which was after our last hearing, and I did ask for you to provide some evidence of that because you indicated then that the dishwasher was still leaky, as evidenced by the attorney for the plaintiff. They said they didn't go back. This work order they said was on June 21st. It would have been before then, and they didn't go back after our last hearing. What else do you have, Mr. Cozort?
Your Honor, just as kind of a clarification, your plaintiff states that they corrected the issue with the vent in the basement.
I'm having an issue hearing you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that coming through a little clear?
Yeah, the volume dropped on your end for some reason.
We have a lot of people in the office today, and I believe several Zoom calls going on, so our interconnection is probably bogged. As a clarification for when plaintiff said the basement venting was repaired, what was done was foil tape was basically placed over the entire vent. So once winter comes, or I mean, even now, air doesn't actually go into the basement. From the pictures I saw, that was the vent for the basement. So in terms of a repair, it's more of a complete disabling of air into the basement. As noted,
you said they put foil over the vents?
Yes, Your Honor, that would be.
And close the vents?
Yeah, Exhibit D is the picture of the vent in the basement. And it's clearly just covered entirely.
Okay, I'm inclined to believe that the vent's there for a particular reason. How does putting foil over the vent to close it and redirect the air help, Mr. Geller?
Well, Your Honor, those vents are designed in any ducting work to open and close to redirect air. The concern was that the air was not getting upstairs, so you close the vents in the basement. I do it in my own basement at home. I've closed all my vents in my basement so that I get more hot air upstairs in my house. That's what was addressed. That's what was requested to do, and that's what they did.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what the request was. It says basement thermostat heater vent blows my heat upstairs from the basement.
Can I speak? Can I speak?
You have an attorney.
Your Honor, my understanding or our understanding from that was that there was, that the heat, the upstairs was not staying warm because the heat was coming out of that vent into the basement. Those basements typically stay a pretty consistent temperature year round, whether they have air or not blowing in them. So what this was directed or intended to do was to fix that issue so that any of the air in the vent would be directed upstairs and not escape into the basement. That's what our understanding of the issue was. That's what was requested when they were there, and that's what they did.
Mr. Kozart, was that the issue?
No, Your Honor. I believe the issue was that the air was being blown completely into the basement. And to say it's closed whenever it's permanently disabled, I mean, it's not usable anymore. I mean, Ms. Penn, could you further clarify on that? I mean, my understanding was that the air was all going into the basement.
Right, my issue.
Your Honor, she's not under oath at this point.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a question, a specific question. The first one I want you to answer is, what was the issue as it relates to item K, which is that the basement thermostat heater vent blows my heat upstairs from the basement?
Okay, this was my complaint. When I cold, when I would cut my thermostat up to 70, 75, 80, the thermostat in the whatever that piece is did not match what I cut my thermostat up to. So if I had 75, the unit thermostat said 50, 55. It wouldn't go up to what I turned my heat up to be. And so I called and said, hey, I'm paying utility bills every month, and the housing piece is not matching what I cut my heat up to be. They said it may be from the basement, and I didn't know anything about any. I just kept saying my unit is cold. Downstairs is warm, but when I live upstairs, downstairs is just the basement. I have a 1-bedroom upstairs. So I said, when I cut my heat up, keep cutting it up, it's not getting warm upstairs. And so they said they would come over and diagnose the problem. Ma'am, when I first got out here, I allowed the maintenance to come out here without me being present because I'm a chef. So I have to work. So I said, hey, I trust y'all. Come out here when I'm not here. Just fix my stuff, please. So I don't know, ma'am, what they did when they came out here when I was not home, because I authorized them to come in when I wasn't at home. But I do know, and I told my attorney this, when I came home, and this is that time, any other since I've been living out here, I have never received a copy of the work orders of what they said they did. And I said, whether you live on a mansion on a hill or a cardboard box, if somebody go in your home and fix something, they leave your receipt of what they've done so that I can say, okay, this has been fixed. Or if I still have a problem, I can show them the piece of paper that they supposed to have left to verify what they did. I have never received a work order of what they did, how long it took for them to do it, old parts that was replaced, nothing. And so I said, it's still cold in my unit. What did y'all do? And then they got defensive and said, we fixed it. So that has been ongoing, because I would say, can you give me a work order so I can see, I can read what you did, how long it took you to do it, what was replaced? They never gave me, I don't have work orders to verify what, I'm just listening to what he's saying, whoever out here. So upstairs it's still been cold. Now when the summer comes, my whatever the thing is out back to take Freon for air conditioning, they said, Stephanie, we can put Freon in there now so it's cool. And I start laughing, saying, well, it's always cold in my townhouse. I'm talking about heat. And they said, well, we have to wait till it get cold, fall, winter, to diagnose what that problem is. And I said, that makes no sense. You should be able to tear that, whatever it is, downstairs apart and diagnose what the problem is, not me having to wait till fall, winter for it to be cold for you to diagnose what the problem is. And then they said, well, we went through it, we looked at it, we don't see no problem. And so I said, okay, okay. So I left it at that, but I kept complaining that my townhouse minus the basement is cold. No matter what I've turned the thermostat up to, it doesn't match. The unit doesn't match the temperature I cut it up to. And so that was that particular issue. But every issue, ma'am, every issue, I explain the best I know how, what's going on. And they'll tell me Stephanie would come over. When they come over, I heard what the attorney said. I'm sitting here shaking my head like, Let me say what I'm trying to say to. When they come over, ma'am, I do not see them. And I'm under oath. And I can take a lie detector test, whatever I got to take. You can take a blood sample on me, whatever. When they come over, I do not see them tearing anything apart, like the dishwasher. It's still water on it when I run. I ran it 6 times. Then I videoed it. I told my attorney, sir, when maintenance come over here, they do not thoroughly check whatever the complaint is. They visually look at it, pull out their flashlights, they'll open it. When they folks open my dishwasher, because I hadn't used it in months because it was leaking, it was a film and a pungent odor because I hadn't used it in there. They told me, Stephanie, you need to go buy.
Your Honor, this is all hearsay testimony at this point. I'm not sure what the point is.
My point is,
Well,
every
I'm gonna
judge,
allow it because you provided me a ton of hearsay about what you said your clients did or your
Right. And I
workers
do have,
did when they were over there.
and I do have my client who can testify to everything that they did do and
Well,
observe.
but he didn't testify, and so I'm gonna allow her to say what she needs to say because she's been trying to hold it in, so let her get it out.
thank you. So so when he came over for the dishwasher, he opened the dishwasher. He said, "What's going on, Stephanie?" And I explained that it leaks. I don't know where the leak comes from. It just comes all over the floor and it spreads, and I had to clean it up. The whatever that terminology the attorney used for the backsplash, when I first moved in here, that was just a straight cover the bottom of the floor, whatever he said. Since the water's been going on, when I first started using the dishwasher, it's all warped. It's all water warped. That's why I stopped using dishwasher, because the water started tearing up warping my stuff, and it wasn't fixed. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is every time I have an issue and the maintenance come over, it seems like on the major stuff, they tell me what I need to do or what I need to buy, or B, they don't thoroughly, to me, like tear it up, troubleshoot it, fix it. Hey, Stephanie, here's your work order. This is how long we was over here. This is what we replaced, so you know that we did repair it. We took this out, put this in. None of that happens. And so I have to just trust when they look at something that they know what they're talking about, and they visually look at something, move something around, but I haven't seen them come back with replacement parts to put in something and take something out. And so that is my issue, is like, if you are repairing it, I'm assuming you're tearing it apart or troubleshooting it, and you're gonna have new parts to replace the old parts that caused the problem in the first place.
Okay.
So that's my issue. That's my issue as far as
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the heating issue, because that's what we brought you in for. As it relates to what your heating issue was, the issue was that your thermostat, whatever you're setting it on, is not matching what the basement thermostat is. Is that what your issue is?
Yes, ma'am. When I cut my heat up, when I needed heat, I could cut it up to 75, 80, and it still would be 50 fast 6. I said, why isn't my townhouse getting warm and I have it on 80? Shouldn't it match 80, then turn off when it hits 80? And it may be a more serious issue in that thing down in my basement. And they told me that they can't do that. They would have to get Resco to get somebody to technically look at that to see what it actually is. And I said, what can y'all do? They said, we're telling you what we can do. We can look at it, but whatever we don't have to fix it, we have to get Resco to authorize us to get what we need to fix it. And so they'll go back with what when we out of here, everything still isn't completed. It's like it's a work in progress to get completed.
So have you tested your thermostat since the time that they covered the vent to redirect the heat? Have you tested it by turning the heat on?
No, I've been keeping it cool because it's been hot out. I mean, when it's drafty, I'll cut it on, but I'm not having to cut it up. Like if it's drafty because it has been summer, it's still at nighttime. Sometimes I get like 55, 60. So it's all my temperature in a townhouse is already what it's supposed to be because it's not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not cold. It's like 55, 60, 65.
I understand that, ma'am. I understand that. The issue that you made when this originally came about was during the winter, and the issue was when you're turning your heat up, the heat wasn't coming up, or the thermostat wasn't moving up, and I guess your heat was remaining, your unit was remaining cold. That's correct?
Yes.
So now they have redirected the heat, and that's what they said, that they put the foil over the vent for it to redirect the heat. I want to know, have you tested it by turning your heat on to see if that had any impact?
Well, first, ma'am, they didn't put the vent, they didn't put that on to redirect the heat. They put it on because my air conditioner was not working when they came out here. They put that tape over so that air conditioning come up, and then they put Freon out back. It wasn't about the heat at this time. It wasn't about the heat. It was about, we need to redirect anything coming out of here to go upstairs. And it was summertime. So they said, we're going to put Freon out back. We're going to come down here and check to make sure that the cool air comes upstairs. And I said, my issue is when it's cold upstairs. That's when I said, they said, you have to wait till the weather shifts. And then we can tell.
Is this unit that has the foil, is this both the AC and the heating unit? Is that what's going on, Mr. Geller?
My understanding, Your Honor, is yes, that both would run through there. And just for clarification, it's not foil. It's HVAC tape that's commonly used by HVAC contractors in apartments, in homes, everywhere that there's HVAC piping. But I imagine, and I could have my client testify to it, that the air conditioning blower would come through that same vent work as the heat blower would. And this should address the issue. Again, what my client would testify to if the court wants testimony is that they did take apart that unit, they did inspect that unit, and they saw nothing in it that would prevent heat. The furnaces operate properly.
Right. Well, I know they're saying they saw nothing in there that would prevent heat. I'm wondering who tested it to see if the heat worked after that. Who tested it?
Nobody.
I don't know that anybody, because she had her air conditioning running, and my client will say.
Okay, well, then we don't know if it's fixed then. Then as far as I'm concerned, the issue is not addressed. If nobody bothered to test it and see if it worked, then we don't know if it works.
Your Honor, in the way maintenance works in apartment complexes, the issue was addressed. The issue was that the vent is blowing everything down into the basement. That was addressed by putting that HVAC tape on there. The furnace was visually inspected and found operable. The air conditioner is operable. The air conditioning, the thermostat temperature was the same in the house with the air conditioning as it was on the thermostat. That and I can have Mr. Moody testify if the court wants him to. We can go through all these items. I'll have him testify exactly what they did.
You're free to have your client testify, but it sounded like even from the onset that there was a misunderstanding between your client and Ms. Penn as to what the issue was in the first place. But the issue is, she's saying that the heat is not coming up or matching the thermostat in the basement when she turns the heat on upstairs. You're stating that your client put HVAC material on there to redirect the heat and or air, if that unit directs both. I now want to know, how do we know who tested to make sure that that worked? And
Well,
to tell me that that's how maintenance works in a apartment complex. I'm very familiar with how maintenance works in an apartment complex. And if they come to fix something, they need to ensure that it's fixed. And we can't just slap something on there and then say it's fixed because we put something there if we didn't test it to see if it's fixed, because it could ultimately have been another issue. What if the thermostat upstairs is broke?
Your Honor, they looked at the thermostat, and the thermostat with the air
Doesn't say that
conditioning
on
on
here.
matched the air conditioning temperature.
It doesn't say that. I know they looked at it.
Yeah.
She says when she turns her heat up on the thermostat, it doesn't match what's on the thermostat in the basement. And I want to know who touched, did they turn the heat up and see if it adjusted? That's a simple way to test it, and no one's done it. So I'm going to find that it wasn't done, and I want it done. Next issue is the leaking dishwasher. She's produced video that shows water coming out of the dishwasher.
Your Honor,
This
can I
video,
address?
I asked her to bring video because when she was here on the 23rd, after you and your client was here, you stated that it was fixed. She said it wasn't fixed then. So I said, well, then you need to bring me some evidence that it's not fixed. So she's bringing video that it's not fixed.
Your Honor, can I address that video?
You may.
In that video, she says that's the 6th time she ran it. So she ran it 6 times in a row to try and get some water to come out. There's nothing that showed the water coming out of the dishwasher. I don't know where that water is. I don't know if she put that water on the floor. The video doesn't show any of that. My client tested it 3 times while they were there, and no water came out. They checked the sink. There was no leaks in the sink. And I will have, if the court will oblige me, I'll have Mr. Moody testify right now as to what they did and give you that testimony. But
okay, you can have him testify as to that, but what you're telling me is that her testimony in video is not sufficient because there's nothing that doesn't show that she didn't put it there herself. Well, I don't see anything from your client visually to show me that they ran it 3 times either.
No, we did not videotape while we were making the repairs, but there was.
So then that argument doesn't help you either then. She's showing me video. How do I know that your client actually ran it 3 times? She's actually showing me video where there's water on the floor, and you want me to believe that she sat there and poured water on the floor of her unit. Why would she do that? What would she gain by that?
Well, she would gain a lot because this tenant has been there for months and hasn't paid rent for months and wants to continue to stay there without paying rent. So yeah, there is incentive to do that and to keep these issues open and going, where, our position is we've addressed them appropriately as they need to be addressed.
Okay,
I had to send them out there again and run the dishwasher test and videotape it and we'll present that to you as well, if that's what Your Honor would like us to do.
If you can show me where there was no leak, then that's fine. But she's saying there is a leak. She said that from the last time, and I don't even see a work order where somebody went out from the last hearing to now just to follow up on that, because she appeared the last time and said it was still broken.
Right.
So
and at the last hearing, Your Honor, we had appeared and said
due diligence. Don't talk over me though. Due diligence would say, you know what? We said we fixed it, but she's here on June 23rd. Even though we were here 2 days ago, we're going to go back to make sure, to prove before we come back to this hearing in July. And nobody's done that. You've not even shown me where they've done anything except for go on the 13th or after the 20th, I should say, to go and do the roof. Nobody went back to check the issues that she said was not fixed. Nobody did that from the 23rd till now.
Correct, Your Honor, because our position was we fixed everything.
Okay.
When we were here on the 23rd, our position was we fixed everything. That's why we're here today.
Okay, very good. And so, Mr. Kozort, do you have any other issues other than those 2? And Mr. Geller, I'll let you call your client to address everything after he's done.
Your Honor, as noted, there was still water damage occurring to the ceiling. I know that the roof has been repaired. The water damage was likely being caused by the roof being damaged, and that there is now a scheduled time to come back and fix that. And then the other issue that Ms. Penn stressed is she's having, and it wasn't in the original conditional dismissal, but there was an issue with her oven vent that is pretty much not venting out of the home. She has considerable amount of grease and just buildup that is collecting.
I can barely hear anything you're saying.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that even being addressed. It's not on the order. It's not part of this hearing.
I don't even know what I could barely hear what he said, so I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm assuming you can hear him better than I can, Mr.
Well,
Miller,
he
'cause we
referenced
can't hear him in the courtroom.
Yeah, he referenced an oven vent that they claim isn't venting properly. That's not part of what was in the court, any of the court's orders, so it's really not before the court.
Correct. Can you address the other things from the court order?
Your Honor, I believe that is all the things that we addressed in our response
Okay.
through the pictures and evidence.
Okay, and so G on yours is your exhibit list is the ventilation you said of the kitchen. Is that the issue that you were just referencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, but that's not an issue that was.
No, Your Honor, it wasn't
Okay.
in the original court order.
That was not an issue that was part of the court order, but.
But I'll be happy to
This
address
is
it, Your Honor. What she
I'm
has
just
is a
saying,
self.
let me see what the picture is first. This picture is this the vent fan that goes above the stove?
Yes. Yes, that's the vent. When you cook, all the fumes go through that because there's no through that,
Is-
ma'am. Yes.
Is this, appears to be falling off. Is that what the issue is?
No, the issue is when I cook, the grease and stuff doesn't go through that vent anymore. It goes up on the ceiling above the stove. So I took a picture of the ceiling to show all the grease going on up there because my smoke detector goes off and I have to open my doors and stuff because the vent is not trapping any of the smoke or grease when I'm cooking. So it all goes to the ceiling above the stove, and my smoke detector has to go off. And I have to keep opening my windows and stuff to let everything out. And so when the guy in the basement came over, he said because there's no vent for my fumes and gases to go outside of my building. That's not built in.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm not going to address that. That's not an issue of part of my order. I'm addressing videos of the leaking dishwasher as it relates to the pictures of the black sludge coming from the basement drain. I see a picture here that sounds like
it came back. It's still there. I take a picture of it. They scraped it off with a.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah, it came back.
It's common. It's going to come back. That's not an indication.
Okay.
That's where did you have a washer and dryer down there or something?
Yes, ma'am. I have a washer and dryer in the basement. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's exactly what that looks like. It's straining from probably your washer and dryer. You can feel free to clean that out and move on. What's the other issue? The corrosion for the water heater. Does the water heater work?
My hot water, it's cold and my water pressure is down. And matter of fact, when they came and did the tub, now whatever they did when they replaced something, all my water leaks on the wall in the basement. So if I went down there right now, you'll see, I don't know what pipe is coming out of, but when I take a shower, all the water comes into the basement onto the floor. It's just.
So you have a flood in your basement right now?
If I take you right now and show you, be like, oh my God, you'll see it. And it's coming. So when they changed something, some knobs so my water wouldn't leak. But when I take a shower and I go down in the basement, water is coming from a pipe from the tub, wherever, and it's leaking my floors and my walls in the basement. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you have a pipe leak in your basement.
From them trying to, well, I ain't say trying, from them saying they repaired the whatever they use to stop my water from dripping. Because it initially started dripping from my shower hose and my turn on, turn off knobs. So they replaced something.
You're saying this happened after they fixed the bathroom tub or sink? Is that what you're saying?
That when they came in, because that wasn't on the order either. That wasn't on the order either. But
did you notify them that there was a pipe leak?
I called after hours maintenance, and I said when I shower, the water somehow leaves my tub and it goes down into the basement. They said they would contact somebody, and no one came out of it.
This is a recent work order you requested, because this wasn't mentioned on June 23rd, so there must be a recent issue.
Your Honor, we have no record of receiving any request or work order.
This is on the paper you have right now. If you look on there where they said, because the attorney just said that wasn't on there, but we went and knocked out some extra things. That was one of the extra things, which is that tub, when they snaked it, they also changed the stems in it. That's on their work. That's on what you have now, ma'am. And when they changed stems, when they changed that and they left, they said it's fixed. When I start taking showers, whatever they did, I don't know what they did. I just know they changed it old to new. Somehow when I shower or take a bath, the water comes from that area, the tub area, to some pipe in my basement, and it floods my water's all over my basement from that.
Did you
that's
provide your attorney with pictures of that?
No, he didn't tell me to get pictures of that. He was like, the stuff that's on work order, like that was on the initial thing to go to court
I'll
with.
let your attorney work. I'll let your attorney work on that while I focus on the things that are part of my order. Okay.
Yeah, Your Honor, this is the first we ever heard of that. So
that's the first I've heard of it as well. So as to the corrosion on the water heater, she's saying that her water pressure is down, and that her water is still cold.
yeah, and I'll have Mr. Moody testify, if the court will take it, that when he was there, the hot water was
I'll take his testimony, and that's not a problem. We can call him. Is that who Molly Lamb is?
No, Jeremy Moody is on the phone, is on with Miss Lamb.
Okay.
Miley and Jeremy, can you put your camera on?
I asked them to start their video. They said they'll start it later.
It won't allow us. It says the host has disabled the video.
No, we've not disabled any video. I just sent you a request to start it.
Oh.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then before we have him testify, I just want to make sure I got all the issues so he can hit them all at the same time. It sounds like you are already going to address the water or the drywall on the ceiling. Did I hear that correct, Mr. Geller?
Yes, Your Honor, that could not be addressed until the roof was fixed. Now that that's been fixed, we are going to address that.
Okay, so it looks like the disputes right now would be the dishwasher. I'm not satisfied that there's still a dispute as to sludge in the drain. They'll address the water heater, and I'll have them address the basement heat vent. Miss, can you give me your name for the record, sir?
Jeremy Moody.
Can you raise your right hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Counsel, you can proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Moody, can you tell the court what your position is?
My position is I'm a project manager, and I'm an interim maintenance supervisor for the property.
Okay. And in your capacity as the interim maintenance supervisor, did you have a chance to go to Ms. Penn's unit on June 21st of 2022?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And with regard to her complaints of a leaking dishwasher, can you tell the court what you did to check into that?
So what I did was I removed the bottom panel on her dishwasher. I laid on the floor with my flashlight and I put the dishwasher on a wash cycle and I watched it for a good 10 to 15 minutes, just to try and find a leak, and I couldn't get it to leak.
Okay, did you, how often did you run? How many cycles did you run?
So that time I ran it one cycle, and then the day before that, I was over there with one of my other technicians, and we ran a cycle that day too.
Okay, did it leak that day?
No, it did not.
Okay, so in the times that you've gone to observe this, you have not been able to observe or duplicate a leak in the dishwasher, correct?
I have not seen a leak in the dishwasher, no.
Did the defendant, Ms. Penn, tell you anything about the dishwasher leak?
She told me that she ran the dishwasher 8 times and she finally got it to leak. This was later on when I was over there with the roofers as they were getting ready to do her roof.
Okay, so that was just recently?
Yes.
Okay. Had she told you any time before that she had gotten it to leak?
No.
Okay.
Aside from when I was over there.
Right. And as I understand it, you said she told you she ran it 8 times consecutively to get it to leak?
Yes.
Okay. But you were unable to observe or duplicate any leaking in that dishwasher, correct?
Correct.
Okay. With regard to the vent in the basement, can you tell me what you looked at or what you did down there?
So the vent in the basement, I closed it off with HVAC tape to try and force more air to the upstairs, because that vent is the closest to the furnace. It's going to get the most airflow. So I closed it off to try and push more air to the upstairs. We took the panel off of the furnace to visually inspect the heating parts of the furnace, and we didn't see anything that would cause the heat not to work, but we did not test the heat because the furnace was running because the air was on.
Okay, so was it not possible then to test it because the air was on?
It wasn't good for it because the A coil on top of the furnace was very cold. And sometimes if you put the heat on, you could cause a crack in the coil and cause a catastrophic failure.
Okay.
So it's good to let it, cool down to kind of room temperature before you turn the heat on.
Okay. But from your experience,
Can I just ask him a quick question while we're on this?
Sure.
That system that you put the HVAC tape on, that runs the hot and cold air?
Yes, it does. That is the ductwork that goes to the unit. It comes off the top of the furnace, and there is an A coil on top of the furnace that goes into a plenum box that all the ductwork connects to.
Okay, so by put the HVAC tape, if you're trying to, like you say, redirect the air or force the air, it would force hot air or cold air upstairs?
Yes, it would. It would force more air, whether it be hot or cold, to the upstairs.
Okay. I'm done with my questions, Mr.
Okay.
Miller.
And in your experience as a maintenance supervisor or manager, is that the type of correction that would be done for this type of issue that Ms. Penn was complaining of?
Well, if the issue is that you're not getting enough air upstairs, that's usually the first place we look, is to see if the air vent that's closest to the furnace. We try to redirect to try and get more airflow to the air ducts that are further from the furnace.
Okay. And in your view, putting that tape there should or would direct more air or more heat to the upstairs area of her townhouse?
Yes, yes.
And then the last
Okay.
thing that I think was an issue was hot water. Did you have a chance to look at the hot water heater while you were there?
So I looked at the hot water heater while I was there. There was a little bit of corrosion on one of the water lines that go to the water heater. But when I ran the dishwasher on the cycle, that water was scalding hot. And I also checked the hot water when I changed the diverter stem on the tub to make sure that it was getting hot, and it was very hot.
Okay, so in your view of the hot water heater, that little bit of corrosion on that stem would not affect its functionality or how it works? Correct?
No, it would not, no.
Okay. And from what you observed while you were there, the water that was going to the dishwasher, the water that was going to the bathtub and shower was appropriately hot, correct?
Yes, yes, it was very hot.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Kuzer, did you have any questions for him while he was under oath?
Yes, Your Honor, just a few quick questions. You stated that you watched the dishwasher for 15 minutes on one cycle while you were there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure I
Is
had
that
that
a
right.
yes?
Yes,
Is that a
yes.
yes? Oh,
And how long does it take that model of dishwasher to run a complete cycle?
A complete cycle that model dishwasher, a complete cycle would probably take about 45 to 50 minutes.
Okay, so you watched a quarter of a cycle.
Correct.
Okay, just want to clarify on that.
But if there was a leak, you would see it right away.
Then on the question with the unit in the basement, you said you didn't test it because that coil had gotten cold, and then switching it to heat could cause an issue.
Yes, yes, the coil had Freon running through it, and it could have caused a catastrophic failure if we would have turned the heat on at that moment.
Okay. And you said it wasn't possible to test, it was just impractical to test. You could have waited and let it cool down and then test it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Your Honor, that's all the questions I have.
Your Honor, I just have one follow-up, if I may.
you may.
Okay, you testified that you observed the dishwasher for about 15 minutes in one cycle. That was on June 21st. How long did you observe it on June 20th when you were out at the property?
So on June 20th, when I was over there with my technician, Greg, we turned the dishwasher on a cycle and we let it run. We went downstairs. That's when we looked at her air vent. We looked at the basement walls, the sludge on the drain. So I would say at least a half an hour.
Okay, and you didn't see water during that time either, correct? Any leak?
No, I did not.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good. I'm not satisfied that the dishwasher has been addressed. I've heard that he's ran cycles more than once, but it doesn't sound like there were complete cycles. There could be some issue with what happens when it's supposed to be draining that causes the, I really don't know. I don't know, and I would hope that Miss Penn is not throwing water on her floor in the house that she lives in to prove a point. But to the extent that there's still some leaking going on, I want this ran on a complete cycle. When's the last time you ran it, Miss Penn? Was it when you did the video? I had to mute you. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, but when I did the video after we had court, I went on and did it, and I haven't used my dishwasher since because of the leak. I just
Okay,
don't
and
use.
is this the time where you ran it 8 times?
I just let it run and run and run because when the maintenance guy came over, I said I just let it run because I hadn't it been just sitting there anyway. So to me, a third of a cycle is nothing. I just let it run, then it started leaking as it just kept running and running.
When you
Then,
say
then
run, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I mean, for hours, I think it was like 3 hours. I just let it run. I just kept when it stopped. I just pushed the button again, let it go again. Then the water started.
Well, then that's misuse, then, ma'am.
I don't know.
If you misuse it, it should leak. If you misuse it, it should leak. This is a residential dishwasher. This is not a dishwasher in a kitchen at a restaurant. You can't run it for 3 hours back to back, 6 to 8 times.
But that's what I did because it had been sitting there for months, and I figured, okay, it may not leak in this. Run it and then see what happens when I run it.
That sounds like it's misused.
The water start coming out.
That doesn't sound like there's a leak. It sounds like it leaks when it's being abused. You can't do that to the dishwasher.
Okay.
Okay. As to the water heater, I see the picture of the corrosion, but that corrosion could be an indication that the life of the water heater is in trouble. But that in and of itself doesn't mean that you won't get any hot water. And so they're stating that you still have hot water. They got to come back and fix the drywall. So I'm going to order that they test the hot water while they're there. I'm also going to order that they test the dishwasher 1 time, not 6 times. 1 time to see if it leaks. And then they can provide me with a short video or pictures of the floor when it's done. And I think that will address the remaining issues. You did just bring up some new issues that are not the subject of my previous order. And one of those is the leak in the basement. I'm inclined to believe that that's something they would want to get done because if you're having that kind of a leak and downpour in your basement, they'll be in some big trouble with mold shortly if this is not addressed. And that mold, it could travel to all the units. So I'm sure they're going to want to get in there and look at that immediately. So maybe they'll be able to address that for you.
We will look at that, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Penn. I didn't hear you.
Is the wall going to be addressed in the basement?
The wall in the basement is where you're saying that there was, you believe there was mold there?
It was, yeah, I didn't know what it was, mold, mildew, but when they came and looked at it, they said, we can't determine what it is until it gets tested. So they came back, they just sprayed the walls so it wouldn't be there at all. They sprayed all the walls and then it wasn't there. It just started coming back a couple of months ago. It started coming back through, not as dark as it was before they sprayed it, but it's all those lines on the wall was like where it was black. And so it started to come back through when they just sprayed the walls white.
I don't know if you submitted pictures. I don't see any pictures.
I submitted pictures to my attorney.
I think I have pictures of the ceiling. Do I have pictures of the wall, Mr. Kozor?
I submitted pictures to Adam and to Jessica, and I'm not sure why Adam's not saying them, but he said he went through all my pictures to pull out the best pictures he could, and he did not include the pictures from the basement. But I gave Adam every picture that I gave to Jessica and the attorney before that. So Adam said he picked
well, I don't have any pictures, sir, ma'am, of the supposed mold on the wall. So I'm if you got those photos, then I want them when you come back.
Adam, are you gonna say about that?
We'll get better photographs of it.
The other issue that you put on here was about a kitchen vent, but that was not the issue or issue that was a part of the court's order, but it sounds like they'll be in your property, so you should show them your vent issue while they're there.
And the vermin in the back. Is that resolved because
They said that they believe that to be an issue that was caused by the roof damage. However, they not only have they fixed the roof, they said that they've sealed up any foreseeable access from the outside. So that should address the vermin that's getting into they look for the holes and ways in which they can get in. And so if they sealed that up, that should address it. You're saying you're still hearing vermin in the wall?
Well, I hear them, but it's not that. I don't know. I took pictures and gave to my attorney of the. You should have that too, ma'am. And there is no. It looks the way it looked before. I didn't see them up there sealing up. Oh, because they told me, the guy who just testified told me that they need an exterminator to take care of that issue. So they did not seal up.
We couldn't do that till.
Okay, it sounds like they'll get you an exterminator. Is that what I hear?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am,
just
that's what
saying-
you hear. We did have to get the
Same thing.
roof sealed before we could do that.
Okay, so they're gonna get the exterminator. They wanted to get the roof sealed to be so that their extermination money wouldn't go out the window. So they're gonna get the exterminator as well, ma'am. So we'll have an update on all these things in the next court date, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I have a court date? You want it, like next week? Oh, no, they're gonna need time for that. Give me 2 weeks. We can do July 27th at 1:30. The July 27th at 1:30 work.
Works for me, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be back here July 20. Mr. Kozar, you said yes, correct?
That was not me, but yes, Your Honor, that works.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so then we'll be back July 27th at 1:30 for an update on the drywall, the dishwasher, the hot water. They're gonna check your basement to see if their snaking caused a leak in the pipe in the basement. They're also going to get an exterminator. Any additional matters for today?
Not from plaintiff, Your Honor.
Not from defender, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.